Good day, ma'am. I am Joseph Noel Capin, and I'm going to report Chapter 13, which is Labor Law. We have the learning objectives, enumerate the classification of employees, their beliefs, privilege and policies affecting them, and identify some best practices in handling human resources in the tourism establishments, identify the procedure in handling sexual harassment in the workplace, and then explain the rights of the worker employed in tourism establishment. Then we have the constitutional provision on labor. The law, Section 3, the states shall afford full protection of the labor, location and overseas, organized and unorganized, and promote full employment and equality of employment opportunities for all. Then we have the classification of employees. Employees of a company may be classified as follows. First, we have the regular employees, casual employees, seasonal employees, project employees, probationary employees, employees for a fixed term, overseas Filipino worker, special worker, apprentices, learnings, handicaps worker. Then the regular employees, employees who are deemed regular are those who have been engaged in performance activity with are usually necessary or desirable in use trade or business an employer, and those casual employees who have rendered at least 1 year of service, whether such service is continuous or broken, which respect the activity in which they are employed. Then an employee who is allowed to work after a probationary period, worker supplies by labor, or only contractors or principals shall be considered regular employees of the latter. Then we have the casual employees. Casual employees are those whose employment is neither regular or seasonal as defined under Article 280 of the Labor Code. Then the seasonal employees, these are those who work are service seasonal in nature and the employment in the duration of the season 9. Regular season employees are those called to work from the time to time. Then we have the project employees. A project employee is one whose employment has the fix for a specific project of undertaking, and the completion or termination of which has been determined at the time of the engagement of the employee, or where the work or service they perform is seasonal in nature and employment of the duration of the season. Then probationary employees. A probationary employee is one who's in on trial by the employer, during which the employer determines whether or not he is qualified and permanent employment. Then the employees for a fixed term. These are the employees covered employment contract provided for term employment, a fixed period employment, and then the overseas Filipino worker, also referred as a migrant worker. Overseas Filipinos worker refers to a person who to be engaged in is engaged or has been engaged under enumerated activity in state of which he is not legal resident. Then the benefits, privilege, policies affecting employees. Minimum wage by virtue of Republic Act Number 6727, Wage Rationalization Act. The determination of minimum wage rates are now within the function of the regional tripartite and collective board. And then we have the collective bargaining. This means covering permanently and is good faith for negotiating an agreement with respect of wage, hours of work, etc., and entering the written contracts called collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, adjustment of grievance, and etc. Then the Labor Management Council under Article 255 of the Labor Code is it reserve the right of individual employees or group of employees, unionized or ununionized, to present grievance to their employer at any time, which are without collective bargaining with or without inclusive bargaining representatives. Then the maternity and paternity leaves. Maternity leaves benefits are covered under Republic Act Number 8282, May 1, 1997, also known as the Social Security and Act of 1997. We have the union rights, strike and lockouts. A legitimate labor organization or LLO has the requisite personality to sue the help of each member for their individual money claims. And then the service charges. Um, the rule of service charges applies on the to the establishment collecting service charges such as hotel, restaurants, lodging houses, nightclubs, cocktail lounge, massage clinic, bars, casinos, gambling houses, and similar enterprises, including those entities operating primarily as private subsidiaries of the government. Then the employment contract. An employment contract is that by virtue of which one person, employee with himself with respect to other employer, to the place of the service of latter in his own effort in work, and the latter in turn agrees to pay himself compensation from proportional to the time or the quantity of work done. Then we have here the termination of employment. It is the constitutional rights of worker to security of tenure and the right to be protected against dismissal except for just authorized cause and without prejudice to the requirement of a notice under Article 283 of the Labor Code. Due process in termination disputes in the heart of security of tenure and personnel of the employee. The laws against discrimination, the law, Article 3, Declaration of Basic Policy, the state shall afford protection to labor, promote full employment, ensure equal work opportunities regardless of sex, race, of creed, and regulate the relation between workers and employers. Then the employment of women. Um, it is the policy of the state of to protect the woman by providing safe and helpful work conditions, taking in the account of their maternal function and such facilities and opportunities that will enhance their welfare and enable them to realize their full potential in the service of the nation. And then the sexual harassment in the workplace under Republic Act number 7877, also known as the Sexual Harassment Act of 1987. Sexual harassment is committed by an employer, employee, manager, supervisor, agent of the employee, manager, supervisor, agent, and employee of any person who having authority, influence of the moral ascendancy over another in a work environment demands, requires of otherwise requires any sexual favor from other regardless of the whether and demand request for requirement for submission of is accepted or not. When then we have the best labor practices in the tourism establishment. This topic has been added to enable the readers to appreciate the best labor practices of selecting tourism and establishments from the lodging industry, travel agency, tour operators, transportation companies, food services industry, and tourist sites. And then that's all. Thank you.